Oh, welcome back, cosmic kinfolk. How are you doing out there today? Well, as you can see, I'm in the nice weather here on this oceanfront beach view, enjoying the rhythm of the ocean, how the tide rolls in and it rolls out, enjoying the rhythm of the wind, how it caresses the leaves of the trees, enjoying that beautiful sunshine as it sends cosmic rays into my melanin and my skin absorbs the nutrients of the sun. And all of these things culminate to a vibration of peace, a vibration of joy. If that does not equate to joy to you, then maybe you're missing out. So instead of missing out, let's talk about what I've come to talk about today. Well, there's this an amazing, situation on our planet. It's called Christians. It's called dogma. It's called Muslims. It's called dogma. It's called Hinduism. It's called dogma. You might not get what I'm getting at now. And I hope that if you're a Christian, a Muslim, and or someone of another religious faith, that you're just sitting there going, wow, you just kind of said there's something wrong with us. No, there's nothing wrong with you. But there is a system that you are under. And maybe it was your choice. Maybe you converted to Judaism, Christianity later in life. You got converted over. Maybe you were born into Christianity. Raise your hand if you were born into a religion. Just raise your hand real quick if you were. Okay. Now, I'm going to tell you that that's fine and dandy. You got born into a religion, or you chose to convert to a religion. But what did you actually think about when it came to the humanistic part of what all the great spiritual masters who've lived amongst men did? Let's take, for example, where the Christian light people, right? The people who admire what works Christ did, Jesus, but a Christ-like being did on this planet that's told in stories and it's told in written word in the Bible, the holy book for them. What they're really looking at is trying to say they want to live more like that person that brought down a revelation of how to be more in tune with the God being. And they want to do that by pulling from Old Testament and then combining it with the New Testament. Well, if you kind of look at what that Christ was doing on the planet, that being was not going into the Old Testament and saying, look, I need you to go follow the laws of Moses, follow the laws of Abraham. He was creating new laws. He was creating new standards, or at least opening the eyes to these ways. So I say to the Christian who gets really upset when there is a gay person, or a queer person, or a estranged person from their own sexual nature, okay? And I'm being very honest. They're estranged from their sexual nature, and you're offended by that, and you have the calling upon you, according to your dogma, to judge those people and be their judge. Well, if you're doing what Christ did, then you don't have that actual authority, but you do have an ability to reach these people through love. And if that's what you've forgotten, and if that's not how you're moving, and you're doing a lot of judgmental things, and the way you explain things about what those people might be going through is a sin, then you've lost the true context there. Run down that one. Ooh, got my decks doing some auto mixing. But you've lost the true meaning of what that was, what the works were that Christ was talking about. Okay, because if you lost the meaning, then are you actually practicing it correctly? And you can ask yourself this: are you practicing what Christ did meaningfully, or are you going off of centuries of ritualistic, whitewashed information that came down to you through a pastor or minister, a deacon, an evangelist, who was really just repeating what they've been taught? Because again, they were born into this, or they were acclimated into a dogma system that requires them to speak a certain way, emulate certain things, and allow their mind to be engulfed by a hypnotic state of I'm right and you're wrong. That's a hypnotic state. It's a hypnagogic state. Let's be correct in our vernacular here. I'm going to be using my full articulation. I'm going to do my best to articulate the pain that certain dogmas cause, not only the person who's practicing the dogma, but their entire encompassing practice as it reaches the masses. It's damaging people. It's not keeping people aligned with a peaceful, loving energy that even the Christ said he was trying to show. Let's take, for example, I want you as a Christian who has dogma in you right now, and you've gone and you've listened to like Beyonce's new album, or maybe you've gone back and you've like done a lot of research and you found out that like Beyonce shows you a lot of things that you consider from the adversary, which is what Satan's name means. Satan is an adversary. It's a title. It's not a physical being. And you find out that Beyonce rode all 4 horses of the apocalypse so far. At least has been photographed riding all 4 different colors of horses, I think, except for green, maybe, right? But you're getting to a point where you're going, is she satanic? Is she the devil? And you're judging her. You're judging her based on her artistic display of a higher understanding that she really just wishes you to come to. And you're also sitting there and you're looking at her lyrics and you're looking at the way she's portrayed herself over the years, becoming very sensual, very sexual. And you go, that's not the way a woman should be. But you're not even like going to yourself, well, when Jesus walked this planet and was using the Christ-like consciousness that walked through with him, he would walk up to a vagabond. He would walk up to a prostitute. He would walk up to a drug dealer, a trader, and he'd commune with them. And he'd commune with them in such a way that he didn't give them judgment, because the minute he would have given them judgment, they probably wouldn't have listened to him. So that's part of the practice, is to be non-judgmental. That's part of the Christ-like practice. And if you're not doing that, just think about that for a minute. If you're not doing it that way, then what are you really practicing? What are you practicing? Are you practicing an old Hebraic, and I will call it, let's call it Jewish, not actually Israelite Hebrew, but a Jewish practice, which is still even right now skewed in many directions. Judaism is not its true at its trueness right now. It's got a lot of hocus pocus and spirituality mixed into it. But Christians, I ask you, are you very judgmental of the people around you? Are you very judgmental of the culture around you? Do you walk up to the drug dealer and talk to him and not ask him to come to church? No. Do you walk up to the drug dealer and talk to him, or do you look back at him like this and judge him? And then the same thing with the prostitute that's selling her body because she wants to make a living, and maybe she really enjoys the act of making love and hasn't found another person on this planet that enjoys them as much as they would love to be enjoyed, that they seek it through multiple sex partners. Or maybe you're judging the gay person who some point in their life might have been turned gay, like you were turned into a Christian if you weren't born Christian, born into Christianity. And that person that's turned gay, they've been traumatized, but they don't see it as trauma. They just see it as something that eventually became a part of who they are. Then you also got the lesbian person that, when it all came down to it, the hormones that kicked in for them made the female body more attractive than the male body. And their sexuality got confused, and they were no longer programmed to procreate and mate with the proper mechanics on the planet. And when I say mechanics, I mean a penis in the pussy, a penis in the vagina. Let's use the correct English there. A penis in a vagina, when it comes inside the vagina, creates children. That woman doesn't want that. Her soul has changed, and well, not even her soul, let's be honest. The soul has the same essence that it was born with, even through many different cycles of its iteration. A soul has many different iterations. It begins somewhere, because again, Christians, nothing is new under the sun. So if your soul is brand new, then I don't know where you're from. I really don't. Because everything that God, the Creator, made has always been here forever and always will. But that's where you're confused a little bit as well. So you take this, lesbian that has a soul that is really an old recycled energy, and you put them into a new container. And their container, the DNA, the epigenetics, the brain makeup don't match up with what their physicality is supposed to do, and they turn away from it. And is that satanic? No. That's not adversarial. They're not destroying anything. The adversary destroys. What they're doing is they're lacking the power to create. They're lacking Godship. They're lacking the Christ-like energy to create. Same thing goes with a man. When he wants to put his penis in a man's butt, he's lacking the godlike energy to procreate. He's moving in a false energy that won't allow him to do what the body's mechanics are built to do. And that's unfortunate, but you can't judge that person. That's what they are. And when you've come to that realization, you walk up to them. You shake their hand, you give them a hug, you kiss them on the cheek, and you are now acting Christ-like. But you're confused in the Christian religion, you're confused in the Muslim religion, you're kind of confused in the Hindu religions. You're confused in religions because of dogmas, because of powers that be that set down, creeds and declarations that really weren't part of the essence of that spirituality system to begin with. So what do you do? What do you do in this situation, Christian? If you're listening to me and you're mad at me, or you're confused by what I'm saying, or what I'm saying made you turn off probably a long time ago, I don't know. But you're listening to me maybe right now because I've started to make some sense to you about being judgmental and where you aren't being Christ-like. But you want to practice Christianity. But you still want to be judgmental because you feel like you were told you were called to be the judge in your religion. You were called to be the judges. This is not true. Because wherever did you see God in the flesh say, I'm judging you because of your lifestyle? You've seen it 1 or 2 times. And let's go look at them. When Christ judged the money exchangers in the temple, he was really saying that this false exchange, this exchange of money is false energy. I want real energy if you're coming into this temple, because your body's full of real energy. You're not going to put paper into your body to make it run better. You're not going to eat a paper dollar bill and then go exercise, because money is your energy. No, but we call it currency. Currency is like a river that flows, and that's an energetic flow, the current. So money isn't false energy, and that's what Christ stood against. He judged false energies. She judges false energies. The divine judges false energies. Period. point blank. Now, how is a false energy to be judged? It's just meant to be pointed out to itself that it's false. That's it. Once you point out to the energy that it's false, for one, it never will affect you. It never will. But you're in a culture where every place you look, that is the norm. So it is affecting everything around you. But internally, you can be guarded from the false energies. But you as a Christian, maybe you as a Muslim, you love going out there and judging, and then you absorb a lot of false energy. You take on false beliefs of being like, I'm like an outstanding Muslim, which means to be like God, or following Islam. You're also being judgmental Islam against Christians. You're saying to the Christian, look, our revelation came after yours, and it's superior in its poetic structure, that it must be more divine than yours. Beautiful surahs. I mean, Quran is full of beautiful surahs. That holy book is very, very beautiful. It's not anything like the Christian Bible, which is a amalgamation of chosen works, chosen scriptures. Chosen. Go look it up, Christians. It was chosen to be put the way it was. Some people chose that. And if you don't believe me, you can really research this. It's not like that's false information that's hidden and it's not made up to make Christianity look wrong. It's just history. It's the story of what has been passed down in its truth and in its best essence. The Quran was recited to the Holy Prophet Muhammad, and it was recited to him from an internal place, and he regurgitated it. Now, what he also had to deal with was dogma. Being in the culture he was in a very dogmatic system. And a lot of it's talked about in his past and in his history. And what I feel like happened in that side of your dogma was you lost the quality of the divine feminine that balances the divine masculine. Same things happen in Christianity, so let's not get it twisted. But when you've diminished the divine feminine to be overshadowed by the divine masculine, and when I say divine, I'm talking about the spark of a soul that lives in you. The spark of the soul that lives in you, where does it come from? What source does it come from? It comes from an almighty place, an almighty idea system, an almighty mind, an almighty voice. And if you want to be of the toxic kind, then you go and you judge divine masculinity, and you go and you judge divine femininity, and you judge it because you have a dogma system that says divinity is only allowed to live outside of me, because I don't believe what Christ actually did. I don't believe that divinity lived in him, right? Well, that's what you're saying. I'm being honest with you. If you go and you judge divine, now look, you're judging Christ every day. You're judging Christ for not judging that whore and sending her to hell. You're judging him for that, aren't you? Think about that. Why didn't he do that in your book? Why didn't he just send the whore to hell? Why didn't he just send the sinners to hell? He had the power to in judgment. But you do that here in the present moments. Every day you walk the planet, practicing your dogmas and promoting them. You send judgments upon people and wish them upon hell. And you also say you want to save their soul, but that's not your game. That's not what Christ was doing. He was not saving souls. Christ was making people supposedly fishers of the soul. Fishers of the soul. How do you fish a soul? Well, you have to cast a very special net. And if your net has, animosity, anger, resentment, contempt, if your net has those traits, how can you catch souls? You can't catch souls that way. What you catch are bodies and minds. And when you convert a body and a mind, you get back to my principle I started at. You get back to the very dogma I started this lecture out. Now, what is this lecture really about? It's really about the fact that when it comes down to what is the nature of the human being and our special abilities that we have working through us if we tap into them, right? That we've lost the connection to why that's useful, okay? We've lost very simple connections to nature in our bodies because of dogmas, because of fears that are brought on by these dogmas. So let's talk about sex. You know, sex is actually so godly that it should be witnessed and worshipped. And I don't mean it should be made into pornography. Please don't think of it in that way. But what I just said to you is that sex should be witnessed and worshipped, because it is the one place, the one thing you as a human being can do to create. You're given a body that helps you create. And I think that's what God said in the Bible. He made you in his image. So that means God procreates. God procreates with divine feminine, divine masculine, or otherwise there'd be nothing to come out. You need two. You need two things to create something new. It might be singular or multiple things, but it is that exact science that is really, really like shot down in Christian and Muslim, dogmas. You go, oh my God, sex is filthy, but you have to go do it in your bedroom. If you're a minister or a pastor at home, you go do sex, and you probably love it when your wife is a little freaky with you and she does something extra for you that night, and you know that wife loves it when you get a little bit nasty with her and hit her on the butt. You know what I mean? Are you sinning by doing that in your privacy of your own home? By having those freaky emotions with each other? Should you turn your mind away from those thoughts and just sit your penis into the vagina and wait for yourself to ejaculate semen into the woman's vagina? Is that what you should do? Make it very, very uninteresting and boring. I think that's what you're calling for with a lot of the judgments and conspiracy theories you dream up in this world. Let's take it back to the most hated on spiritual person on the planet, which is someone like a Beyonce. When you go back and you look at all the sexual stuff she's put into her music, and you're listening to it in your bedroom in the privacy of your own home with your significant other, if it does not help you get creative, then she's missed her mark. Her mark was to inspire you as a sexual being to be fruitful and multiply. But no, you judge somebody who says, I'm going to show you being fruitful and multiplying can be beautiful and vulgar. It's a little bit of both. There is a divine balance to that. And the reason why it can be vulgar is because we do have right now a huge understanding that, once you've had an exposure to a certain amount of level of desensitization, being desensitized to something, then you might seek out something more extreme because you're desensitized. But imagine a more perfect union of the world where the minute you're allowed to have sex, right? It's actually like promoted by your family members, your mother, your father. They're promoting you to have sex, and they're promoting you to have healthy sex. How would that change your mind as a human being? How would your mind be molded to be more solid about the actual sensuality of procreation and doing what God intended us to do? Your mind would probably be a lot healthier. You wouldn't be so toxic to yourself. You wouldn't be so toxic to the opposite sex. You'd find a vibratory state of balance and not be thrown off by the fact that your woman wants to grind her vagina all over your penis and make you squirt so hard that you just shiver and shake. If there's something wrong with that, then stop having sex and making babies, Christians. Stop getting married. Because you go to the divine bed every night and you might get lost in an ocean of wetness Whew. Anyway, so I'm coming to a conclusion on this because this is really just a rant to go back into a place of being non-judgmental and how much power lives in the mouth that is non-judgmental but speaks the truth, speaks to truth, speaks power to truth, speaks truth to power. There's much, much more to be said, but we're going to stop right there. I want you to ponder on this. If you're a Christian, if you're a Muslim, if you're a Hindu, if you are of any particular faith that has started restricting the idea of being the most you can be while you're here for this moment, then you must say to yourself, I might need to look into the positions that I stand for and go find out. Is there positions that I can stand for that move more in balance with a divine person walking the planet? On that note, peace.